he was a very different person on the stage 4 years ago when you debated him. You must, I mean, that's certainly true, is it not?
Anderson, the point has to be.
Obviously, I mean, you can't honestly say, I mean, can you say that you are not concerned at all having watched the president's performance tonight?
It was a slow start. That's obvious to everyone. I'm not going to debate that point. And that's Joe Biden. That's all he has to look for.
Neither person on that stage tonight made the argument as coherently as you just did. To someone who watched this debate tonight and has serious concerns about the President of the United States, what do you say to them about what they just saw?
The Joe Biden that I work with every day is someone who, as I have said, has performed in a way that has been about bringing people into the Oval Office, Republicans and Democrats, to compromise in a way that is extraordinary these days because it just doesn't happen, but Joe Biden can make it happen. The Joe Biden I see is someone who goes to our allies around the world and strengthens NATO to the point that there are 2 new members of NATO who just about 4 years ago, people said, is NATO even have a reason for existing? The Joe Biden I know is someone who has delivered 800,000 new manufacturing jobs.
Right, blah, 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 blah. And look, I don't mean to be getting into political commentary here. I didn't ever want to be a political commentator. I didn't actually watch the whole debate. I couldn't bring myself to. I found it to be just not engaging, very boring. But look, of course, this is likely going to have been said many times by many people already at this stage. Hopefully, I can say it a little bit differently or put a bit of focus on something that... This is my intention. I want to put a bit of focus on something that I don't think has been put on very much. Although, when I saw the first comment here, I suppose this proves me wrong immediately, but I just felt like I wanted to read it out and some of the replies to the first comment on this video. Look, of course she's lying. Of course she's lying.
Of course!
To channel Cenk there. But, look, it's not really that she's an accomplished liar, although she's a better liar than they thought she was. And I have to say that Joe Biden wasn't as bad, wasn't nearly as infirm of mind as I expected him to be. And he actually surprised me. He shocked me. I mean, based on the clips that I've seen before of him shuffling around, turning around, not knowing where he's going, shaking hands with invisible people, talking about sure international diplomacy, whatever it was. I was at the foothills of the Himalayas. That's what America can be defined as. All this kind of stuff. I didn't see things as bad as that. Now, as I say, I haven't seen the whole debate, so maybe he said a few things like that, but they've shown us the highlight reel, the clips, the best clips they could find to show how, oh, look, they can't deny it now anymore, how doddery he is, how he's losing his mind. Look, I really do believe that there must be some kind of, let's just say, process that they're able to go through with him to make him as lucid as possible. A bit like, that movie where your man finds that drug, Limitless, is that what it's called? Takes that drug so he's able to have, a 6,000 IQ for a short amount of time or whatever, and that might limit other things, might limit his life even. But look, I certainly didn't mean to get into medical commentary. I guess that clip about abortion.
Under Roe v. Wade, you have late-term abortion. You can do whatever you want, depending on the state. You can do whatever you want. We don't think that's a good thing. We think it's a radical thing. We think the Democrats are the radicals, not the Republicans.
For 51 years, that was the law. 51 years, constitutional scholarship said it was the right way to go. 51 years, and it was taken away because this guy put very conservative members on the Supreme Court. He takes credit for taking it away. What's he going to do? What's he going to do, in fact, if the MAGA Republicans, he gets elected, and the MAGA Republicans control the Congress, and they pass a universal ban on abortion, period, across the board at 6 weeks or 7 or 8 or 10 weeks, something very, very conservative. Is he going to sign that bill? I'll veto it. He'll sign it.
I mean, that is a central tenet, a central part of the principles or values upon which the modern Democrat Party and their voters adhere to. And I think maybe that's part of why they're able to deny reality at will and then admit to it in a controlled way, which is what they're doing here. Admit to it in a controlled way when they feel their party, their leadership has given them the nod to agree to it. I think that's why they're so agitated, why they're so febrile, why they're so emotionally highly strung, and why they get so apparently crazy, why they lash out so quickly into a bout of a frenzy of fury, because they're constantly suppressing. They're wound tightly like a spring, and they're constantly suppressing this. I suppose it's rage, but it's a rage that they are suppressing, an anger that they're taking out on others, but it's really some kind of an expression of some kind of traumatic guilt. There's part of where their trauma is coming from. Their guilt from what they know that it really is, which is murder of the most innocent. I probably shouldn't get into it and shouldn't have said that if I want this just to be a general commentary. So I'll move on to what is about this interview, the central lie here, the conceit, the shared lie or delusion or fooling of themselves more than anybody else. Of course, they're trying to gaslight us that, oh yeah, now we notice that he's just not as firm of mind as he used to be. He's going senile. No, he isn't going senile. He has been senile since before 2020. And the surprising thing to me, and the surprising thing to most other Republicans, so to speak, if that's who they consider themselves to be, or conservatives, or MAGA, far right-wing people, the surprising thing should be to those people, if they're honest, is that Joe Biden was remarkably compos mentis in that debate. Let's call it a debate. I mean, he held it together pretty well. He was actually far more coherent, as I say, than I expected him to be. And anybody who's honest will have to say that he was coherent. So what I want to do is look at this first comment here. It says, why is everyone pretending Biden just became senile yesterday? Yeah, why are they pretending? Well, because it's a performative pretense. It's a controlled demolition of their candidate. They are simply very calculating people, and they have come to some realization. I don't know exactly what the formula for their calculation is, but it has come out that they have realized, they have gone, the numbers are showing us that he's not going to win this election. And the primary, or really the only, value that the Democrats have is that their team should win. That's it. And it completely runs in alignment with I suppose the central lesson from the book 1984, which is when Winston is trying to say to O'Brien, look, why do you want to have this power? What are you trying to achieve? What do you want me to agree with? Maybe we can compromise on something. Maybe you have an idea for society as to how you want it to be arranged, and you have certain values or principles that you want to infuse into this great new society. Like, what is it that you want to do with humanity or our society going forward? Maybe if you could explain to me what it is that your vision is for the future, that maybe I could sort of get on board with that. Maybe I will either agree or fully agree, or we can find a way to live together. And O'Brien says to him, he laughs, he kind of goes, oh, my boy, you still don't get it. We don't want to do anything. We don't have any principle that we want to apply to society. There's no outcome that we want to see. It's as simple as this. We just want to be in power. We want absolute power and no contest to that power. We want absolutely no single human being who objects to that. We want nobody who in their minds would even think anything contrary to the idea of us being in power. We want no challengers to our power. That's it. We don't want the power to do anything. We just want the power. And for most people, I think, who are honest people, it doesn't compute. That's not something we can comprehend. That somebody wants power for its own sake. And that's what these people are about. Not just the politicians in the Democrat Party. It's the people who live among us, who are registered Democrats, and registered for that reason. There might be some people who just don't get it. Their parents, their wives, their husbands, their children, whatever it might be, really their neighbours, the people they live among, are Democrats, so they want to fit in. Most people want to fit in, so they go, I'm a Democrat then as well. And even if they don't understand that that's what they believe in, that they want power for its own sake, and they want their team to win for no other reason than they just want the feeling of their team to have won. Vote blue no matter who is the same thing as basically, I support the Dallas Cowboys because I support the Dallas Cowboys. There's no other rationale to it than that. I want to feel good about myself because I want to feel good about myself. That's what it boils down to. So why are they pretending that Biden just became senile yesterday? Because that's the way that they get to keep supporting their team and not admit that their team stands for nothing. Oh, no, we'll just move on and say, oh, look, our candidate isn't the best candidate anymore. Pretend that they have values, that they are now looking for a replacement candidate to continue on in the fight, the struggle for their values. And as we've seen with Kamala Harris there, if there are any values that they have, if there are any outcomes that they want to achieve, what one of those is, or maybe the primary, maybe the only one is, that they want to be able to abort their own children, at will, at any time, for any reason. So let's see if it gets answered here. Why is everyone pretending Biden just became senile yesterday? And the next guy says, that's a fair question. We told them 3 years ago, even longer. They can't deny it now, says somebody laughing. You see, a lot of these people, as you can see, they don't get it either. Again, they're playing this is why I'm trying to sort of say, I'm not talking politics here. I'm talking humanity. I'm talking the mentality of your average human being. And this is why I amn't on the Republican side here, because they just want lower taxes, lower gas prices, lower grocery bill and that kind of thing. And look, of course I'm for that, you see. That's why, like, if I had to choose in this binary choice here in the Hegelian dialectic, then yeah, I would choose Republican. But either which way you get ZOG. Either which way you get no nations. At best you get, a pleasant economic zone in which to live. A pointless existence. Ultimately a futile, pointless, meaningless existence. That's what I object to. I'd like my life to mean something. I'd like to live amongst like-minded people. To that extent. To some higher-minded extent, not just, hey, did you see the football game, the sports ball game that happened there recently? What did you think of that? Well, it's Monday morning, back to work anyway. I don't want those kind of water cooler conversations. I don't want to go to a job that pays a bit more and taxes me a bit less. That's the paradigm I want to get out of. But of course, I don't want to starve slowly to death in an excruciating, long, drawn-out process. But that's what we're getting now, and we'll still get it either way. And obviously to have an influx of unlimited number of people who aren't our people. So the next guy here says, why does anyone think that a liar cannot be trusted? Or can be trusted? Can run our country? Anyway, I'm shocked to find out that gambling is going on in here. I think that's a Simpsons quote. Is it from Homer or Grandpa Simpson? When he goes into that place, that bordello or den of iniquity that Bart gets a part-time or summer job in. Possibly because they're senile themselves. Well, I appreciate thee. I'm shocked, I tell thee to find out that gambling is going on in here. That's closest to the answer, really. This guy has a pretty good answer, because they don't want him to run. They want him to drop out. Every one of these responses has been carefully curated before the debate. They threw the old man under the bus. It's disgusting and wrong, but here we are. So this guy, I think he probably does get it, that the Democratic Party are just very calculated. They're cold-hearted, stone cold. They're mercenaries, really. Not for what they want to do, but just to get their own way, and they don't even necessarily fully understand what their own way is. As I say, their own way is just to be the people in charge. This guy, I think he's speaking to this truth that I'm speaking to anyway. He says, this is how they pivot when their lies are no longer working. Not everyone, just the other half of the voting population, says this guy. On the bright side, at least my dementious great-grandma thought Biden did better than she expected. Well, then this guy doesn't really get it either, because maybe his grandma is sharper than he is. Only the demon rats are. Exactly, because they have so much egg on their faces and trying to save their own asses. Well, they're trying to save face, is what it is. They've never had to ever admit they're wrong about anything, mistaken, misguided. They've never had to backtrack on anything. They've never had to climb down from any position. They like painting themselves into a corner and then going, no, I haven't, you have. So like most people, they are petulant children, have never grown up mentally at all. Also, to be a good liar, you need a good memory, says Fran Mehy 5782. And they all have poor memories because they watch the mainstream media. No, they sure can't, and they know it, because they are gaslighting sociopaths. Well, yeah, that's speaking to the truth. Age can do that now. Exactly. Kamala is saying here that we should just ignore what we saw and heard in this debate and vote for Crooked Dementia Joe anyway. No, she isn't saying that. She knows what's going to happen and what the general party message is, but she knows for her own political career and to save her own face that she can't go, oh yeah, like he was terrible, because then the follow-on questions will come and they'll say, well, what was different then last night about when you debated with him?
And, there was a little girl in California who was part of the second class to integrate her public schools. And she was bused to school every day. And that little girl was me.
Because maybe you're not right in the head if you're only noticing it now. She knows she wants to avoid all those other follow-up questions. Just can't handle the truth. Yeah. Wow, maybe. It is a shame to see the most powerful country of the world with no president for the last 4 years. And that's the truth. So obviously anybody who's honest and anybody who's got a brain to think with will sort of say, well, if he wasn't in charge, who was? Because, I mean, and again, they've told us for quite a long time now that they say, oh yeah, of course we give him notes and we prepare him for what to say and all this kind of thing. And of course he reads off an autocue and all this kind of stuff. So that's, people will then scoff and say like, everyone's been doing that. You don't think President Reagan was doing that? Oh, etc., etc. So who has been running the country for the last 4 years? Seriously, USA? Is this the best you can do, USA? Biden out? The idea, Joe Biden. And as I say, yeah, well, whatever. He made sense, mostly. Probably did better than I do under all that pressure. A slight bit of hyperbole there, but not much. Vlad says, and yet we have the best economy in the world currently. Amount of new jobs at an all-time high, and our standing on international stage as a leader is back. How many people from Trump's first term rejected to work with him ever again? Does that tell you anything? My God. So there she is. It's a woman. That must be a legitimate believer. Or else you just don't know with these people whether they believe their own lies or not. And it's sort of a fluid, not nuanced, but it is a floating kind of a thing. I think some people do, who are the best liars to themselves, they have to be able to float in and out or move between these kind of worlds in a sort of a slippy, ethereal way, between having concrete ideas and then having wishy-washy ideas about something. Rusty Draft says, well, if everybody admits they've been lying to us for the last 3 years, they get fired. But if they play stupid and act shocked, they can say, wow, we just saw it when you did. And this is the thing, and I really hate it. People in my own life have done this to me. And I've often sort of said, like, what's going on here? Because it seems as if reality is breaking down. It seems as if we're coming from different realities. And I've walked away from these encounters going, I can't figure this out. Is reality breaking down, or do we live in different reality bubbles? And our worlds are colliding now. What is really going on here? Is there something supernatural going on? And no, it isn't. It's that me as an innocent child still thinks that people... I thought we were all brought up to just represent ourselves honestly, to tell the truth and represent the truth and interact with each other in a way that it's sort of like, here's what I want, here's what I think. What do you think? And so can we find a way to non-violently sort of hash out our differences? Oh, good. Oh, it seems like you want that, I want this, but there's a common ground here, and now we can carry on. And we're both happy, mostly. We mostly got what we wanted. Well, obviously they have encouraged the kind of people now who we see, who I would say, I don't know if it's the majority of our society, I'm not sure if I can say that, but there is a certain critical mass of people, and they still exist, and that's the problem in our society, who have never learned to compromise, maybe a bit like sort of some only child syndrome. If there's some, maybe not, of course, not all only children will be like this, but the kind of child who never learned to compromise, never had to share his toys, never had to do anything he didn't want to do, and was never denied anything that he said that he wanted. He was always, or she was always given, maybe more likely women, because little princesses were never told no. They were always just like, the worst of those children in Willy Wonka or Charlie and the Chocolate Factory. I want it now, Daddy. I want it, and I want it all, and I want it now. But what do you want, Violet? I want it all, and I want it now. And those kind of children, they grow up to be adults. Except, of course, they never mature. They never mature. They just become those screaming, unpleasable, petulant children in adult bodies. And then their weak, spineless husbands never tell them, I'm sorry, but we won't be doing that. And of course, the conditions have been created in our society whereby if a man would ever tell his wife no, well then she'll divorce him and make him penniless, and he'll still have to keep working, never see his children. So they created that very, very well. I mean, none of this, they talk about the law of unintended consequences. There have been no unintended consequences. Everything has been planned accordingly, completely calculated. And that was one of them. To make men no longer be able to say to their wives or their daughters, no. Otherwise, they'll be accused of child abuse, cruelty, or beating their wife, or being cruel to their wife, same thing, whatever. Making their wife cry or berate them publicly. Well, he must be a terrible person. So you have a lot of these, particularly women who are supporters of the Democrat Party, who have never known any moment in their lives when every little whim that they have had hasn't been immediately satisfied. So that's what they're used to, and they certainly mean to continue on in that fashion. So that's another big reason. It's not woman blaming. I'm blaming the men as much. That they just absolutely refuse to put their foot down about anything, ever. Everyone's to blame. And I can see why people think that God must be on his way, or the second return of... the second coming, rather, the return of Jesus. I suppose it's second return of Jesus. Or whatever Messiah people believe in. Other people believe in a different Messiah is going to come back and fix everything, bring peace to the world, they think. But those people have been actively fomenting chaos in order to hasten the arrival of their Messiah. But in many ways, everyone who believes in a Messiah is hoping and encouraging more chaos. They see it as a good thing. They say, sit back, do nothing, continue to do nothing about our own situation, of our own making collectively, and somebody else is going to come in and save us. Nobody is coming to save us. I'm happy to admit if I'm ever wrong about that. I will definitely admit it and say, I guess I was wrong. But as I say that, not as a boast, but just, to sort of say, like, that is the difference between me and these other people who can never admit they've been wrong. Because I've had good practice. I've had plenty of experience at saying, oh, yeah, okay, well, I was wrong. And many times I've been happy to be wrong. Anyway, I'll see if there's a good comment here to finish off on. Maybe because we were better off then. Honestly, it was way worse for Woodrow Wilson. The White House kept his declining health a secret since 1912 for nearly 6 years into his second term of office, and his wife, alongside close advisors, wanted to continue until his stroke in 1919, despite the public showing growing concerns about his health as president. Yeah, all right, well, that's an interesting comparison or demonstration as to how there's nothing new under the sun. But the implication with these kind of arguments is that, yeah, well, that makes the current iteration of it all right. It certainly doesn't. It wasn't all right then, and Woodrow Wilson wasn't a good guy, and neither is Joe Biden. It doesn't make it all right now. So last night was another cheap fake in real time. Damn, this AI is good. He's being sarcastic, of course, because that was their excuse about a week ago. That, oh, no, he's not doddery. No. He's not somebody who doesn't know where he is. That's just a cheap fake. He didn't have to be led off the stage by Obama, like a typical senior citizen who's got lost out in his walk in the garden of the old age pensioner home, the home for the permanently bewildered. No, that didn't happen. Just ignore the evidence of your own eyes was the party's final command. Unfortunately, they can and do deny it. It's style points. Yeah, because they're more concerned with how they appear, saying or doing whatever they do, than what it is they actually say or do. Alternative question, who is actually running the country today? Yes, we should all be asking ourselves that. First answer maybe might be the military-industrial complex, as they always have, or the backup government, or the continuity government became the real government. That kind of starts the subject matter going. And then who specifically are those people? We should never say an organization does things or run things or is responsible for things. We should say, well, who specifically are those people? We should never say, oh, a corporation does this or a company does that. Who are the people at the helm of that ship? I know, right? Says the last guy on this thread here before. I might expand it a bit more. They act like they are now embarrassed and shocked. Biden actually did better than the debates in 2020. Yeah, that's what I think as well. He spoke more than he did the last time. Well, from what I've seen, that's true. Yeah, somebody says they couldn't avoid it this time. They couldn't deny reality. No, they could have, and they would have. So I'll leave it at that. I could read on and on and on. But look, I think I've made my point. If I haven't by now, then I'm just not capable of doing it. So thanks for listening. Bye for now.